It's DEW Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and shine. You're on with this DEW Time with Pastor Steph. How are you this morning? That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. For this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So, where were you yesterday? Yesterday was Let's Talk About It Tuesday Church Folk Day. And we had some conversation yesterday. We started off talking about the first self-deportation flight. Went out to Went out to Honduras and Colombia this week. Yes, and they paid $1,000 per person, including per child. So they kept their word. Yes. Now, it would be a whole lot easier, they say, and a whole lot less expensive to send them back on a self-deportation trip because, it only costs $1,000 per person. Unbeknownst to us, I don't know about y'all, but I shouldn't know that when they deport each individual, it can cost $17,000. Now, they should have started this self-deportation a long time ago. They probably would have gotten a whole lot more done than what they've been doing. Because if you think about it, they've just been rounding up people, putting them in these places, holding them and detaining them, then shipping them off. And sometimes they've even put them someplace else when they've dropped them off where the United States is still responsible for them. So I don't know what they were doing before. I don't know whose plan this was before. But again, it was successful. It was over 60-something people. And they dropped some off to the first stop was Honduras, and the second stop was Colombia. So that was just the first. We're on our way to, I'm sure, many more self-deportation flights. They say it's better to self-deport because if you do, you can have an opportunity to come back. If you don't, and they have to deport you, you will go on that no, you cannot come back list. And listen, they probably ain't bringing nobody back no way. So by the time you get all these people who have been waiting, because remember now, these people were illegals. So whether they went back self-deportation or not, they were illegally here. So are they really going to bring you back? No, they probably won't bring you back. So you know what? Well, listen, it worked. It worked and it worked. Well, the other story we talked about was the French chef and his partner, who cut up the neighbor after they tried to rob him, and that went bad. The man ended up suffocating and dying, and they decided they were going to cut up part of the body, burn that part. They were going to cook part of the body, and he told some guy who they found, to cook the body with some vegetables. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, cook it till the bone falls off so that it smells like normal cooking. People are just deranged and depraved. And they tried to take the other part of the body off into the van. And that's how they ended up getting caught, because the daughter to the man that they killed reported him missing. Of course, the car missing, and they were driving his van. So again, dumb criminals. Yeah, so I'm sure they're going to spend a lot of years in jail. Well, last but not least, I am my brother and my son's father. Yeah, craziness. craziness. Again, only showing the depravity of this world, where a boy had been sexually assaulted by his mother for many, many years. And later on, he's 26 years old now, only to find that the brother that he's been taking care of, because the mother's been in jail for this sexual assault. Well, the brother he's been taking care of is actually his son. Yeah. And what a position to be put in. Yeah. So you got to go back and listen to these stories from yesterday, because they were all just outside of the self-deportation thing. It was crazy. It was just crazy stories. Again, it just really shows how depraved and deranged people are. This world has really just flipped its lid. I mean, outright bonkers. If you don't grab the Lord, you're in trouble. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Because, these people, they think they're fine. And see, that's the problem. Everybody think they're fine. And this only goes to show, when God says, I'm going to leave you to a reprobate mind, this is what it looks like. Yes. So, you know what? Every day we're on this broadcast petitioning and introducing and reminding and doing all kinds of things to just get you to just get on board. Get on board with the Lord. Because if you don't think that this could be you one day, only the Lord keeps us from being this. Trust me when I tell you. And we'll talk about that later, by the way. Yes. So go back and listen to yesterday's show. Go back and watch yesterday's show, preferably. Either way, just go back. Just go back and just check it out. Okay? Okay. Today is Wow Wednesday, everybody. Yes, we made it to the middle of the week. Thank God that He got us here. We're about to get this party on the road, and we are going to get an opportunity to go get that healthy breakfast. Go tell somebody that It's Due Time with Pastor Steph is on, and whatever you do, don't go anywhere, because we will be right back.
Day for my gut and liver health, and here's why. I'm a board certified gastroenterologist, so hit that follow button if you love these tips. First, it's low on the glycemic index, which means it's blood sugar friendly. Number 2, it increases 2 of the most beneficial gut bacteria that you could have, including bifidobacterium and lactobacilli, so it works as a prebiotic. Number 3, it's bloat friendly, it's low in FODMAPs, and can actually help improve constipation and stool frequency. Number 4, people who eat more dates may have a lower risk of colon cancer because of its polyphenol content and because it helps the good bacteria make a compound called butyrate, which can be protective against colon cancer. Number 5, because of the polyphenol and antioxidant content, people who eat more dates may have a lower risk of fatty liver disease. One of my favorite ways to eat this is to open up a date, add some walnuts in it, and it makes a great healthy snack, especially in the morning. So share this with someone you love and hit that follow button if you love these tips. I eat 2 dates every single day for my gut and liver health, and here's why.
Good morning, and good morning again. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. And it is Wow Wednesday, everybody. Yes, Thank God we are here. We are at the 21st of May. Can you believe this already? It is past half of the month. Oh my goodness. And congratulations to all of the graduates. You know, graduation started early part of this month for some people. And congratulations to all those who have graduated and giving God thanks for all your accomplishments. Remember, you couldn't do it without the great big almighty God. All right. All righty. Well, I want to know who's in the room with me this morning. So please make sure you check in, whether you're on YouTube Live, whether you're on Facebook Live. Please call somebody. Let them know we're on. Do you realize that all these people that you have not contacted, they're missing all of this great content? Oh my goodness. What are they doing? Nothing. Get them on board. Yes. Get them to join you. Get in the chat room. All right. All right. Well, good morning to Terrence. Thank you so much, Terrence, for joining us. And guess what, Terrence? Thank you for saying that you love the show. Please tell somebody. We would so appreciate it. We love you too, Terrence. You definitely help keep this chat room live every day. Good morning to you too. Good morning to Miss Ketty. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Ketty. Good morning to Teresa. Hey, good morning to you. So good to see you this morning. Hey, Serge, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. We got a check-in from our girl, Vivian. Good morning. Good morning. We're getting ready for your socially conscious segment. So we are looking forward to having you on with us. So good morning. We got a good morning from well, bless you too. You know what I feel like? Bless you, my queen. Well, we will look Boomerang. Remember Boomerang at the end, the little boy? Yeah. Bless you, my queen. Well, bless you, my king. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we got a check-in from my girl, Tamika. Good morning. I can't wait to talk to you either. Good morning, and good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Please make sure you tell a friend. We got to get these numbers up. Yeah, we got to get these numbers up. Okay. Well, we cannot go any further without saying good morning to our ladies who help us hold it down in the background. We got a check-in from our girl, Shantice. Hey, Shantice. Good morning. And we got a check-in from our girl, Anika. Good morning, Anika. Thank you so much. So appreciative of you being on with us, and y'all helping us hold it down means a great deal to me. All right. So it's about that time. It's Wednesday morning. It's the top of Wednesday morning. And you know what we do every Wednesday morning? We say good morning to our girl, Vivian, with her socially conscious segment. Good morning, Viv.
Good morning. Happy Wow Wednesday. How are you, Pastor Steph?
I am well. Thank you. I am well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good. You know what I like to ask you? What you got for us today?
All right. Let me get my stuff together. Uh-oh. My laptop's not turning on. 1 second. All right. So today on Socially Conscious News, we are starting off with a recall. They're saying cucumbers are being recalled. I don't know what's going on with this device. It is not turning on for me to grab my news. So, 1 second. All right, here we go. Difficulties. All right, today on Socially Conscious. Reports say U.S. health officials are investigating a new outbreak of salmonella illness tied to a Florida grower whose tainted cucumbers were linked to more than 550 illnesses last year. And they're saying presently the same cucumber grower out in Florida is he distributes these cucumbers to Fresh Start produce sales, and he has now been linked to illnesses once again in at least 26 people in 15 different states in the U.S. Food and Drug Administration reported last Monday at least 9 people have been hospitalized. No deaths have been reported. The cucumbers were sold to restaurant stores and food service distributors between April 29th and May 19th and may still be within their shelf life this week. Illnesses were reported between April 2nd and April 28th, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So if you are a cucumber lover, please take precaution for a little while. He's just one grower, but he sells his cucumbers to many different places. So make sure you are aware of this recall. Again, he is selling to Fresh Start produce sales. So if you see any cucumbers with that label on it, you might want to stay clear of them just for a while. Next, we have news that former President Biden has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. They say the 82-year-old former president had received the diagnosis on Friday after seeing a doctor for urinary symptoms. Some doctors have expressed surprise that the aggressive form of cancer, which has spread to his bones, was not detected earlier. The cancer diagnosis comes amid reports that the Democrat aides sought to conceal other deteriorating health conditions from the public ahead of his 2024 election. Some are saying because of the aggressiveness of the cancer, they believe he had it at the start of his presidency back in 2021, and that he, for some reason, hid it from the public. And that is why now it is so aggressive at this moment. Reports say Biden had previously been diagnosed with benign enlargement of the prostate in 2019 before he was elected. His campaign released a report form from his medical screening saying he had been treated with medication and surgery and has never been diagnosed with prostate cancer. That's what they're saying. U.S. medical guidelines do not recommend routine blood screenings for men over 70 because prostate cancers can be very slow growing and the difficulty of testing and treatment may outweigh the risk from the cancer. So they're saying there's no way he didn't have this cancer before. And now that this is coming out, I guess many people are just wondering why he would hide such a thing for so long. And it's very sad to see him in this state of affair. Next, we have the New Orleans prison break that everyone has been talking about. If you have not heard, they're saying that a maintenance worker is charged in connection with the New Orleans prison jail, the jail escape. He says that an inmate threatened to shank him if he did not help them. Sterling Williams, 33 years old, cut off the water so inmates could pull the toilet from the wall, Louisiana attorney announced Tuesday in a statement. They're saying 10 inmates escaped from the Orleans Parish Justice Center early Friday. Williams admitted to agents that one of the escapees advised him to turn off the water in the cell where the inmates escaped from. They're saying instead of reporting the inmate, Williams turned the water off as directed, allowing the inmates to carry out their scheme to successfully escape. They're saying without his help, the plan would have failed because removing the toilet would have flooded the cell which would have then drew attention to their actions. They say it took 7 hours to realize that the 10 inmates escaped the prison, and then 3 more hours to inform the public, despite the fact that at least one of these inmates is a convicted murderer. As of right now, 6 inmates remain at large. This janitor, Williams, is being held at the Paris Detention Center on charges of principal to simple escape. And 3 other employees were ultimately placed on leave without pay pending the investigation. So still 6 people are out on large as they are trying to figure out how exactly this was able to go down. 7 hours it took for them to realize that 10 people were missing from the jail. And now we have our wow story of the week. Reports say an attack on a middle school student inside a Brooklyn school has left a 13-year-old student with bumps, bruises, and a fractured finger. And they say a teacher's aide is accused of orchestrating the attack. They say she got her own brother to come to school and carry out the attack on the student. They're saying that the attack was a result of the teen, the 13-year-old, trying to speak up for himself. He tells the story that he threatened to report the teacher to the principal for an infraction he believed the teacher made. They're not giving any specifics about what exactly the infraction was, but they're saying as he was transitioning from one class to another, the teacher's brother attacked him out of nowhere. No one knows how he got on campus, but they do know for sure he was not supposed to be there. The mother of the 13-year-old boy says they never sent my son to the nurse's office. He had all types of lumps and knots and bruises. They're saying that the school tried to cover it up. They never called her. They never informed her. And they were trying to keep it under wraps. But her son was the one who let her know what was going on. His mother's name is Clover. She claims that the school tried to cover up what happened. They didn't call me because we were all still trying to assess the situation. That's what they told her when she finally found out what happened to her child. The brother who attacked the 13-year-old is confirmed to be an 18-year-old who had no business being on school grounds. The family says that their son has not returned to school since the incident because he has been too traumatized to return. They say an investigation is not enough. They want more of an explanation. They want this lady to lose her job because, according to them, she is still employed at the New York City Department of Education. She is still employed by the New York City Department of Education. But this has been Vivian with Socially Conscious, giving you the news that we are following. And remember, if you have any wild stories you would like to submit, please feel free to direct message me. My username on Facebook is VivianBM, and come back every Wednesday to find out if your story has been chosen. Thank you, as always, to our loyal listeners, and thank you, Pastor Steph.
Thank you, Vivian. Thank you. Can't wait to get to chatting about this stuff. We will check you in a couple minutes. Thank you so much. All righty. Woo-wee. We definitely have some stuff to come back to and talk about. Definitely those last couple of stories. All right. So I was trying to figure out what we were going to talk about on the in-between that I could chat with our ladies about. Well, listen, let's start off talking to our girls, about yesterday's I'm My Brother brother and his father. Yeah, let's talk about that. Where's our girl Tamika? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
I am great. We celebrated our second wedding anniversary on yesterday. Woo!
Wow, I forgot the 20th. I don't know why I thought it was the 21st today. Well, happy anniversary to Lady Tamika and Brother Al. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, congratulations to you. Thanking God for everything going well and the big two yesterday. Wow. Well, what did you do to celebrate?
I've got a plethora of flowers in my favorite shade of purple. There's it's all different types of purple. And then we went out to eat. Really nice restaurant.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Very nice. Well, again, congratulations and giving God thanks.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, girl, yesterday's conversation, what were you thinking? I could possibly be my brother's brother and my brother's son. Well, I am my brother's brother and my brother's father. Not my brother's son, my brother's father. What's your thought?
You know, when you first started talking about it, before you had opened up exactly what the gentleman, what his dilemma was, the thing about it is a lot of times we jest, we think of things, you automatically come up with a joke. We even look at, like, one of my favorite movies is The Color Purple, where, my father, not my father, that type of thing. But this is somebody's reality. Your mother took advantage of you and gave birth, not only took advantage of you, but gave birth to a seed that shouldn't have been conceived.
Right.
Such a disaster, and the trauma that faces, because now that you're in the know, what do you do with the information that you've been provided? Whether the child is yours or not, that's a lot to behold. The fact that you already have to go through, the mindset of my mother, the person who gave birth to me, took advantage of me to that degree. And now I have a seed, a product of that foolishness.
Right. You can run, but you can't hide. You know what I'm saying? Even if you wanted to try, like you said, to get away from that trauma, but now you have this, just following you forever and ever. It's so sad. It really is. It really is really not, a good situation to be in. Oh, where's our girl Shantice? Let's say good morning to Shantice and see what her thought is. She's always singing this, I'm my own grandpa. Good morning, Shantice.
Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning.
I'm fine, thank you. Listen. Humor me and sing me the song, I'm my own grandpa. But you got to sing it slow enough so I can catch every clip of this here.
I'm going to need you to take notes, because if you miss one word, you miss the family tree. And then you miss how he becomes his own grandpa. Many years ago, when I was 23, I was married to a widow who was pretty as could be. This widow had a grown-up daughter who had hair of red. My father fell in love with her, and soon them two were wed. My father's wife then had a son who kept him on the run. And he became my grandchild, 'cause he was my daughter's son. My mother's mother is my mother, and it makes me blue, because although she is my wife, she's my grandmother too. This has got to be the strangest thing I ever saw. as husband of my grandmother, I am my own grandpa. Did you get it?
I had it up to a point, and that's what always happens.
Okay.
Wait. I got the part about the father, his father, and his stepdaughter got married.
Right. So
And
his stepdaughter also became his sister.
right. Okay.
Right. Okay. So
She's trying to figure it out herself.
So
Wait,
then my father's wife then had a son. That son became his grandchild, but that's also his brother.
what?
So then, all right. So his father marries his stepdaughter. So now
Right.
that's his stepdaughter and
Right.
his sister.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Wait. No, that's his stepdaughter and his mother. I'm sorry. That's his
Right,
stepdaughter
right,
and his
right.
mother. Right.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So then they have a child.
Okay.
That's his grandson and his brother.
Okay. Oh, right. Because the daughter makes the grandson and the father makes the brother.
Right.
Okay.
But then now my stepdaughter is my mother, but that makes her mother my grandmother. But I'm already married to her. So I'm married to my grandmother. Then who's the grandfather? Me.
Uh-oh.
'Cause I'm my own grandpa.
Make the hurting stop.
I got you. I got you
Yes.
now. See, now once he added in his wife, that's how he becomes the grandpa.
Right.
Child, as Mariah would say, child.
Yeah,
Oh my
and that's
goodness
from the
gracious.
movie. For those who don't know, that's from the movie The Stupids that came out around like 96, 97.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Woo, honey. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for the song.
You're
And
welcome.
she sings it so fast, Tamika. I'm like, what
Because
are you
that's how
singing?
that's how he sung it. So that's why it's embedded in my head. The melody and the speed of the melody is embedded in my head like that because that's how he sung it. And everybody was like catching up. He sung it. They did a promotion for the movie as if they were on a talk show. And what they did was they had, I forgot her name, but she's a popular actress. They had her as a talk show host, and it was a row of them who were giving like crazy things about themselves. So everybody was like, oh, and he was the last one. So he's like, I'm my own grandpa. And then they showed the producers in the back spitting out their coffee and everything. And she was like, what? He said, I'm my own grandpa. And then he said, let me break it down for you. And he sung it. He explained it through the song. So
Okay.
I'm sure it's on YouTube by now. Y'all got to pull it up. It's called The Stupid.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you so much. Well, unfortunately, you have a situation as we spoke yesterday. The Stupids was a comedic movie,
Right.
a comedy movie.
Right.
And what do they always say? Art imitates life.
Right.
Somehow or another, we always manage to step. You can't make this stuff up. I think you said that on Monday. Tamika, we were talking about something, we can't make this stuff up. And
Right.
it's true. I had a boss who used to always say that when something stupid would come up at the job, he would say, Stephanie, you cannot make this stuff up. Our imaginations, it just carries us straight into real life. And unfortunately, you have a 26-year-old. And, I was looking at my own 26-year-old yesterday, and I was like, wow, to think that she could possibly, somebody her age, they're just babies, to have this type of a dilemma, going on, what do you do with that? So now there was the question Pastor KL brought up, Shantice, yesterday was, hey, what does he do? Is he going to take this task on? Is he going to really try to become the dad? And the thing is, he was caring for this brother, not solely,
Right.
but he had a hand in caring for the brother, which is why the social worker and she was involved, as well as he sees a therapist. So the social worker and the therapist they were the two that actually broke the news to him that this was his son. And I guess they found that out from the mother. I don't know. What's the thought here?
Oh, I mean, as someone who would have had to break the news to him, that would have been traumatic for me. I'd have been like the producers when the guy was talking about I'm my own grandpa. But again, that's, a social worker, that's their job, to now do damage control and assist with all of that. That's the therapy's job, to do damage control mentally and emotionally and assist with all of that. I don't think I necessarily agree with him like now explaining this to the child just yet, because you have to get a hold of this thing. You have to get your bearings together. You have to make sure that you're able to now do damage control. Both of y'all can't be wounded on the same level at the same time. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work for many reasons. He's gonna have to see that you have a level of stability, even when it's still, because I mean, that ain't something I can see anybody getting over in this lifetime. So to be like, okay, once you get over it, I don't know if there's no such thing necessarily. However, there is a such thing of you being able to get to the point where you can now talk about this thing without breaking down and helping someone else to break down. So yeah, it's like, oh, well, he deserves to know the truth. God doesn't always say to go tell certain things, whether it's forever, never, amen, or at that particular time, because he understands some things may do more harm than good, not only for the other person, but for you. Like, how many times do we say, I'm ready to talk about this, I'm ready to do this, and God may be like, sit down, no, you're not. And you're like, yes, I am. And he allows the opportunity to present itself. He does not protect you because you keep asking to step outside his protection. And you go and have these conversations with people, and you can't even start the conversation because you all emotional, or the conversation gets to a certain point, and then God forbid someone says something you don't want to hear. Now, there goes your cool. So it's a real, I mean, everything is. Something like this is definitely what did God say?
It's very true. It's very true. And I'm glad you brought up this, this thing where it says, when you talked about, we speak. Pastor KL has brought this up several times on the show, where, everything that God gives you, you don't say, you don't pass on, or everything that God gives you, he gives you a time to now present it. Everything he gives you, it's not like for you to tell right away. Sometimes there's a level of not just understanding, but there's some details in that information that you actually get that you're going to have to give, because certain information that you give, you got to be able to answer questions. You've got to be able to, communicate and chat about this thing. Tamika, with this is what we're talking about now, just now being able to now have this hard conversation. Have you had to have that hard conversation, but you were just happy that you had to hold on to it first before you were able to talk about it, because then you were actually prepared to talk when it was time to talk?
Yeah, that is crucial, important. Knowing your timing, because there are some times when you just need to don't say a word, and allow God to minister, through those circumstances and situations. A lot of times, especially ironically, it's funny that we're talking about it on a Wild Wednesday when we're talking about women, because a lot of times we get to a situation that I got to tell you such and such and such, and God didn't tell you to do that. God is telling you to wait. God is telling you to sit on it, and my thing is, now you messed it up because you put your mouth on it, and sometimes in your anger and in your emotions, you put your mouth on a situation, and now you cause greater damage than if you had just let God deal with you for that moment, and then teach you what to say, how to say. You know, a lot of times you don't have to react. You don't have to snap back at that moment. You know, let God heal you so that you know how. So you're informed and you know what to do and how to do, when to do. You know, because when
Right.
God has shown you, you don't just clap back and start acting and rolling your neck like we can. You know,
Right.
because he has conditioned you. Your mindset is different. You can think actively and reactively and not start yelling and screaming because there's no other recourse because you didn't allow God to deal with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Shantice, that rolling of the neck, and you know, sometimes you go out there and you put your mouth on something, and now you have to eat that because now the response that you're getting, you weren't necessarily prepared for that particular response. And now, oh boy.
Yes, I've I've actually been that person where, because I'm not afraid of like handling, like once I'm in a certain mindset, I'm hoping it's a hostile situation. So if
Oh my
I'm
God.
so if I'm feeling some type of way about something, and don't let it be to where I'm waiting for the opportunity. You know how like we said, you want to address something or say something, and God may be like, hold it. Holy Spirit is like, shush your mouth. And you just sitting there waiting for the opportunity to present itself. It's like the inkling of an opportunity. You like, bam, because I've been waiting for this. And you start going in, and then it's even more fireworks than what you expected. And you're like, oh hell, wait a minute. Okay. I'm willing to take this on. I just didn't understand how many legs it will grow. For me, that's what it is. It's like sometimes you think it'll only be confined to this person or these people or this situation. And one of the main reasons why the Holy Spirit may have been telling you to shut up is because it's linked to so many other people, places, and
Right.
things that you
Right.
don't see,
Right.
that you don't
Right.
realize.
Right.
You know, you could have
Right.
sat and analyzed this thing, but still you don't understand to the degree that is going to hit once whoever takes the top off the can, you know. So you gotta really stay in collaboration with God, because again, his ways higher than our ways, his thoughts higher than our thoughts. He gonna see and know a whole lot that we don't, even with us taking the time to analyze. You know, I'm gonna thought this thing through. I did, because I said I consider this and I consider that, but yet you didn't have the ability to consider the other part. So yeah, you gotta be real careful.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. Thank you, ladies, for our interim conversation.
Yeah.
Our girl Vivian, it looks like she's in position. So let's get to this socially conscious conversation. Good morning again, Viv.
Good morning. Hi, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, all right. Well, we got our first recall on this due time in a minute. You know, it's at one point we couldn't even have one morning without another recall coming through. But you know, are you a cucumber lover, Tamika?
I am. I had one yesterday. Now I'm like, oh boy. You know, you
What
can't
does
get
this
rid of
recall
it.
mean to you?
You can't get rid of it a day later. You know, it's already up and down, you know, but it's concerning, you know, and we're getting to a point where you just have to be real careful where you shop. You have to allow God to govern your choices, your decisions. You know, there's too many things out there and too many dangers, you know, and I'm grateful for all that gets mentioned when we're talking about food and safety and sanity, you know, sanitation, that is, on, you know, how to prepare your foods, because it's so dangerous, you know, and at any moment you could be, you know, at danger, you know, and being in the know helps you be more informed as opposed to purchasing stuff, because, you know, the store is going to make a profit. You know, they're not going to tell you, oh, you know, these cucumbers, don't get those. You know, their job is just to sell. And so it behooves us to be wise with what it is that we purchase and when we purchase.
All righty. Shantice, you a cucumber lover?
I really like cucumbers. I actually want to be a lover of it because of all of the benefits that come along internally, of course, but also externally. Cucumbers have a lot of benefits. So I have like my seasons to where I may not eat cucumbers at all, and then I'm just consuming myself with a lot of cucumbers. And again, it's like, Lord, when they say, Pastor Kim always says, we're in our last and evil days. It's like all the things, it's hard enough to grasp letting go of the junk food that is literally killing you, but we're begging God to kill us because we don't want to let it go. Then we finally wrap our head around eating a cucumber, and now something wrong with the cucumber. It's like, all right, so is it safer with the junk food you said is literally killing me? Or is it safer to just sit there and play eeny, meeny, miny, mo with all of the cucumbers that's out on display? Like, which one do you fight with? Okay.
Wow. Vivian, do you love cucumbers? Does this make a huge difference in your diet plan?
Yes, I love cucumbers. I can eat them as is, just wash them off and bite it right down. Love cucumbers. I think they definitely need to figure this whole thing out, because for this particular farmer to be in the news again a year later.
Right.
Last year he had 155 people sick, and now this year he has people sick again. They definitely need to figure out a different way. If we go and we inspect you and you don't pass inspection, you're not allowed to sell. To still have him selling and now he's got people sick again, that don't make sense to me.
How are you still a farmer?
Yeah. I thought about the same thing. I'm like, well, you got a repeat offender here.
Right.
And, now you got people sick again. You're saying up to 9 people have been hospitalized. Thank God, no deaths, but you definitely need to get your license revoked.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody needs to be buying from you, on this level. Imagine the amount of money that he's making only to make people sick.
Right.
If you're talking about over all the states, you are producing a whole lot of crop there, and clearly you're not taking care of your business properly. So you should definitely have your license revoked, not allowed to sell any longer, and it would be criminalistic for you to sell a cucumber or anything else off your land, because this is too much. This is just way too much. So you would have one time to make people sick, and that's it, because if it's something that like you had no idea of, that's one thing. But for you to be aware of something, whatever it is, I don't know what it is that's making your crops bad and your cucumbers tainted. But my question becomes, what else are you growing that is also tainted? And we just don't know nothing about it.
Right.
So hopefully, they do something about this, the FDA, they do something about this and his sales, and they shut this business down because we can't afford to be ill. It's funny because we never have a recall on any junk food, hardly. We had a recall on the potato chips, ice cream, but on a grand scale, it's always something that like we have, we need meat, vegetables, fruit, fruits. It's always something like that. But for very rarely is there some junk food that we could live with or will live without. So, all right.
What scares me about that also, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
When you buy products, especially like cucumbers and they're loose, like how do you know that?
Right. That's what I'm thinking about.
Because there are plenty of times where I don't buy, there are only 2 of us in our household. So I only need so many cucumbers, so I might buy, 3 out of 5, they give you one of those sales, 4 for $3 or something like that.
Right.
how am I to know that where these cucumbers came from? And that's a really scary thing. There's
Right.
another fruit stand by us, and it's a 24-hour fruit stand. I've never seen it, anywhere else. And there's no, bagging, that tells you where it came from. I stopped
Right.
shopping
Right.
just for that reason, because I started questioning, wait a minute now. Y'all just popped up out of nowhere and y'all selling fruit, just fruit. And I don't know, it's a little concerning.
Right. You're right, because I got 3 cucumbers sitting on the cabinet now that I bought, home in the produce bag. Because like you said, it's just a bunch of cucumbers loose. You don't have them in a bag, with a label or a brand name on it. So like you said, you have no idea, what this is. So it is something that is concerning. So that's why I said they've got to get this together, because, we don't know. The consumer does not know what is actually the origin of these things. So it's a really good point. Really good point, Tamika. All right. So now they're trying to figure out, was Biden ill prior to his presidency? And with the aggressiveness of the illness now, they're beginning to believe, yes, that he was. So clearly they're not going through some level of physical before you take office. It's very sorry. I've been reading all about this for a couple of weeks now, of his illness and his diagnosis. So, prayers for him, because Vivian said it's now spread to his bones. So it is definitely something that is very serious. And so that's the question for me today. Do you, take them through a physical? We just talked about day before yesterday, we talked about the boxers who have to go through, that periodic physical, or the fighters for UFC who go through the periodic physicals until they act up until 30 minutes before the fight. So do you now do the same thing with the presidents, Shatis?
Well, if it had been known that he had this illness, then that would have eliminated him from the race.
I don't know. Because as far as I know, there's never been this issue about somebody being ill. First of all, let's go back a minute. This was the first presidency where the 2 presidents were so old.
Right.
Normally, they say like the 50 age range, 50, 55 age range. This was the first time that the both were as old as they were. And that's why I could never understand it about how old Biden was. Well, Trump was just as old as Biden. So it was just something weird. So prior to this, there's really been no talk about illness because they've been younger.
Okay. Yeah, because as you were speaking, I was thinking like, well, if he was, did they keep it under wraps because they knew it would eliminate him from candidacy, from running? Or because if not, then somebody. If he, if he knew it would eliminate him and he intentionally didn't share, then by all means, you were being misleading and all of that. So yeah, that's crazy. But if it had nothing to do with that and there was no chance, as far as he was aware that if I come out that I'm sick, whether I got cancer or the chicken pox, then what does it matter now? The man is not in office. If you're finding out that he is sick now, more concern needs to be going towards his, treatment and him, God willing, getting better, instead of, oh, well, he must have been sick during his term. Okay, so now what? Does that eliminate anything that he did, good or bad? Does that justify anything Trump is doing now, good or bad? So if it's not a case of then he was misleading as far as his ability to be president or him running, I don't see why this is a talk of the town right now. That part, not the fact of him being sick overall, but the fact that he must have been sick during his term. So what?
Right. Okay. All righty. Viv, is this a big issue for you and should they be bringing it up?
No, it's not a big issue. It's definitely unfortunate if he felt the need to hide this thing for so long, for whatever the reason. Because my only thought is, you know, how they're always so concerned about what comes out because it'll sway the voters one way or the other. And I can see it swaying the voters not to vote for him had he been diagnosed with cancer back then and people knew it. I can see people not voting for him because, for one, you're old and now you got cancer. So I can see him not winning. But I think that they should do some type of screening or health screening for them because of that reason. Because now you have something and you're hiding it because you want to be president so badly. So they should do some type of health screening. But I don't think it should make a difference right now. If he decided to hide it, that's his business. Now he and his family have to deal with, you know, the repercussions of him hiding it if he did. But I don't think it makes a difference as far as what's going on in the politics today.
Okay. All right. Tamika, what say you? Should they screen? And should it matter now that he was possibly hiding it back then?
Well, considering his situation and he's no longer, serving, at this point, it doesn't matter. The sad part about that is that, as a political person, your own personal health, there's nothing sacred, which is sad, but it does matter in the fact that you're running, like you said, we had two political agents that were way up in age, but I think that the screening is important because we need to know the longevity of your health. It's not something that the public at large should know, but those in office that serve under you, your cabinet, those parties that work with you to help things get done should be aware of the fact that you have a health concern, and then if something needs to be done afterwards, then yes, I don't think that everything that you do and everything that, concerns you health-wise should be alerted to the public, but, just those that are in your cabinet should at least be aware. We've had many of instances where people in office just go missing. At one point, Mayor Adams went missing, and then they said like weeks later he had a health concern, but they really didn't tell us what the health concern is. So, it's kind of like 50 on one and 50 on the other. It's very difficult.
Okay. Here's my thought. My thought is, first of all, there should never be these people running at this age.
Absolutely.
That's the first thing. I remember learning in school, what was the criteria for even running for president. And that's how I found out about the age. And like I said, this was the very first time where the two candidates were as old as they were. So at that point, oh yeah, you need to be screening for their health because we don't know, how long they're going to be in office. We're picking a president and a vice president, to only end up defaulting to the vice president because the president was so old that he ended up becoming senile and all of this kind of stuff. So, there are some health concerns, period, once you get up in age. So I think that's the first thing they should never do again. In regards to going backwards and now doing somebody in their 50, 55 area, yeah, you need to do a screening. If you're doing it for the athletes, then you definitely need to be doing it for our public servants in president seats. Yeah, because we need to know, how long and they're going to be there. What's their, expectancy. I think we have a right to know that. We're voting on people who are going to run this country. If you're not, well enough to run this country, we need to know that. Mm-hmm. We definitely need to know that. That's for me. That's for Stephanie. That's what I would want to know. I don't care about your health like that. I don't need to know the details. Mm-hmm. I don't need to know the details, but I do need to know that, there is, something that could possibly jeopardize, their 4-year, seat holding. And, now they can't really take that seat. And you know what? Do it before you even get up in there, so we ain't got to know all that much. But once you out there, then yeah, you're going to have to tell something. I don't think that should be completely oblivious to the public. If we're voting, I think there's a certain amount of information. Like I said, details and things like certain details, I don't think we need to know because that's still private. But I don't think we need to be oblivious. That I don't agree with. So, this is, a little touchy. I don't think it matters now. It's the man's private business now. Now, here was another thing that happened for the very first time, as far as I know, at least since I've been alive in these little 58 years. He was already serving he was already in the seat. He went from, at one point he had been in office already. He had, vice president. So, that's another thing. So that's a little tricky as well. So, it wasn't somebody who was coming up for the very first time. We had never heard this person, blah, 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 blah. So that's another thing, that was a little different than, in the past. So, hey, it is what it is. But now this is his personal business. And, it happened. Whatever happened back then. Don't let it happen again if it did happen. That's my take on it.
Right. The other branch to that tree, and I hate to keep sticking stuff at the very end, is that, people are leaving this world, with no warning, and the sad part about that is even after getting a checkup and, making sure that everything is okay, we're not promised tomorrow.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. The fact that we hear somebody's just not here anymore. You're right, Tamika. So that's something that we're already walking around with the possibility of. So yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
More branch cancer can be aggressive. You don't know whether he lied or not. For each person, it's different.
Right.
And you
Absolutely.
can suppose all you want, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the case.
Right. Because there's some people who they didn't have any real symptoms, and then here we go. There's this outbreak in your body, So yeah, that I don't think that. I mean, for some instances, I agree. You do know, but for other instances, no, you don't know. Nobody knows, how quickly something is going to spread. I have no idea. The New Orleans prison break. Now, this has been all over the news, especially because you still got 6 people on the lam. And there's some fine details up in this story that could be a little concerning. Well, first of all, you've got this whole question with this maintenance worker, whether he really was a part of the plan or whether he wasn't. So they say, okay, listen, he claims he's threatened from an inmate that if he does not shut the water down, so they can rip this toilet off and get out through those means of this facility, that they're going to do something to him. And instead of him reporting this, he goes and he complies with this request. And they have 3 other people who are, being called into question as to if they've assisted in some manner. Now they say this, the other complex part of this is they said it was 7 hours before they even realized that 10 people were missing. Well, that's basically because count only happens certain times of the day. They have 3 counts a day. So if you're in between that count, then no, you're not going to miss these people. Unless they were supposed to show up somewhere and blah, 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 blah. But they got 7 hours. And then they had another 3 hours where they alerted the public that these 10 people were missing, despite the fact that there was someone who had been a convicted murderer. So first, let's talk about this maintenance worker. Vivian, do you think he really could have been a part of this plan, or was he being threatened?
I think he was a part of this plan. I think he was a part of this plan because how much more simpler would it have been for you to just tell whomever that they are threatening you, they are threatening to shank you, and just be transferred to another prison. Now
Right,
instead you're going to
right,
be in prison because you helped them, whether it was under
right.
distress or not. I- that was just silly to me. But I think he was a part of it. I really do. I don't know if it's because of the color of his skin. I ain't gonna lie, but if you see him, see the picture of him, he don't look all too innocent. I feel like he was a part of this.
Okay, okay, okay. What about the other part with the 3 hours not alerting the public about this person actually out there?
Regardless of if you're between counts, they had to scale the building, climb fences. Like they had to go through some things to get out. It just wasn't out the window and now you're free. They had to go through some
Right.
things to actually escape. So nobody was able to see these people. 10 people scaling the building, climbing the fence, and escaping the prison. Nobody saw this. So there's obviously some lack going on that they were able to
Mhm,
do all of that
mhm.
unseen. So they need to figure that out. And unfortunately, the person in charge was a Black female. So she
Mm,
she got some
wow.
explaining to do.
All right. Wow. Shantice, what you thinking? You're thinking this maintenance man is a part of the plan, and what about these other three people? Because Vivian brought up some other stuff, right? You don't just climb out through the toilet system and then you on dry land. Yo, you got to go through some stuff.
Well, I recommend that everyone go watch Shawshank Redemption. Is that the name of the movie? Where he
Yep.
climbed up. That's a mean wanting to get up out of prison. That you swimming through the sewage system, the feces and the urine to get out. And he made it out and was able to take an outside shower when he got out. However, I don't. From what I do know about the prison system, I don't know a lot. I've never worked there, but I have friends who work there. I watched a lot of documentaries. I've had family who's been incarcerated. People know people in other prisons. Once you got, okay, so if I'm working in this prison and for whatever reason the prisoners got their eye on me, I got one or two options. I can either A, comply, or B, quit and just leave this alone as a career. Because if I decide to say no, that means I'm never coming back here again. There is no way I can say no and think I'm going to clock in and be safe while cleaning another toilet the next day. There's no such thing. Just because I said no, forget the fact that they're afraid I'm a snitch or whatever. Just the fact that I told them no, that they felt comfortable enough to come up to me with this plan. I said no. And I think I'm going to live? Absolutely not. That's just not heard of. On Rikers, let alone in a prison. Okay, so unless he was like, he just said yes just so he could safely get up out of there, but never returned ever again, then I don't know. Unfortunately, I could see him saying yes just to comply out of fear. But like Vivian said, now you going down with them because for whatever reason you helped. And unfortunately, because it's known for these COs and anybody else to be in cahoots with these prisoners, it's real easy to assume that you were really with this. Like, oh yeah, come on, let's do this. Now, what would be the benefit of the toilet cleaning man helping the prisoners fall through the sewer system? I don't know. Because it's not like
that's how they ripped the toilet off.
No,
that's how they got out.
No, not how. What's the benefit in him helping them? Like, what did he get? That's what I was about to ask. But wait, so how are you promising me money, but you ain't got enough money to get up out of here a better way? See, all these things will come through my mind. That's just what goes through my mind. You got money to pay me. Meanwhile, you about to climb through where we do to get out. What money you got, bruh? Nah. See, this is what happens when you don't finish school. You don't allow the Lord to bless you with the common sense, because that would have been it's just like you're in a position where you're relying on other people to do for you. You're relying on other people to put top ramen on your books. You're relying on this one to do that. You're relying on this CO to be cool with you so you can get an extra pack of cigarettes, whatever. You're not in the position to really call any shots. So how am I now relying on you to do something for me because I'm doing something for you? How does this work? So if he was in cahoots, he should get locked up just for that, just for believing that you was gonna get something out of this, out of the people who had to. They couldn't even rip the toilet themselves. But yeah, you about to bless me with what? No, I don't think he was in on it. I think out of fear he said yes, and he didn't think this through. You can't want a job that bad. There's maintenance workers every day, B. Like, there are people who need people to clean toilets everywhere. You can go do that anywhere. You didn't have to come back to the facility to do that. I just think he just said yes and didn't consider what that would mean when they got caught. Because, like you said, Pastor Steph, you're not opening a door. Because even when you walk out the door, you still got to go through the gates and stuff. World's dumbest criminal.
Tamika, was he a part of this plan? And what happens to this once they got out? They didn't alert the public.
First of all, I want to thank Shantice for the graphic.
You're welcome.
I can never get the vision. Never get this vision out of my mind.
We gotta help you.
The other thing is, I honestly believe that they might have had something on it, and that's why he chose to help. Maybe he was sleeping with, some of the inmates, things like that.
All righty. All right. So here's where my thought is. My thought is, yeah, he was a part of this. I do believe. I do get the concept of what you're saying, Shantice, because that's what came through my head. My head was, okay, so what did they promise you? Because you're talking about people, inmates. You ain't talking about, no mafia. You ain't in no federal prison where these people got money and they got backing and, they got support and all of this kind of stuff. Yo, you ain't nobody. So what were they promising you? But you were a part of this. I don't think this was just no fear. I'm not buying either that this was no fear. I'm kind of leaning to Tamika, where somebody got something, because like you said, to think of Vivian's scenario, which is very easy to think of, that he was a part of this thing, or to go with what you were saying, Shantice, where you just they promised you what, it's somewhere in between. It's somewhere in between. And that's where we landed. And we landed in a bad spot because, like you said, Vivian, we in there now. Yo, regardless of what your excuse is, you're not getting off a day without serving, because at the end of the day, you were an accomplice. Whether you were accomplice under distress or whether you were accomplice because, hey, I'm with this, whatever. You were an accomplice. Now, here's this other people that are involved. They were the other people that helped them scale them walls, scale them fences, and get through the rest of this prison. Because there's nowhere in the world, like you said, you're going from the toilet straight to dry land. You ain't in the back of somebody's house at this point. Right. You're not on the road. You're not on the dirt road. You somewhere still in this prison. They made these prisons like this. So, because I think in Shawshank Redemption, they said he had to go across like certain amount of football fields. Yeah, that was the distance. So, they have built these prisons with this stuff in mind. So, this ain't an easy feat. So the other people that they say that they are holding, and they're being held without, any pay and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, they the ones that help them complete the task. Maintenance worker ripped off. He shut the water down so they could rip off the toilet, and the other ones helped them get the rest of the way out. So that's how this was done. Now, in regards to, they didn't let these people know that, hey, somebody's out of jail. They had this New Orleans prison break, and they out, and there's a murderer out. No, they're not going to tell, because now it's going to be their negligence. Now it's going to be the maintenance worker, the receptionist, the lighthouse worker. You follow what I'm saying? Now they got to tell that they people either were accomplices or went to sleep at the wheel. And they don't want to admit this.
Right.
They don't want to admit that. So no, they ain't going to tell. So now they're gonna tell. They told because they gotta tell. They can't not tell, because see, they need the public to help pick them up.
Right.
So you gotta tell now. You ain't got no other choice. But yes, with all of the process of getting out, the count, the scaling of the walls and the gates, and going through the barbed wire. Because listen, if those migrants, those illegal people didn't mind going through all that barbed wire, neither will the inmates who think they can get out and be free. So I see, here's my thing. I always question, when people break out of jail, what's your plan? Where you gonna live after this? If you ain't getting on a plane
in the sewer
and self-deporting, then where you going? Because you all over the news. So that's always my question. It's already a poor plan to break out of jail. Now, I'm sure that they've had people who have escaped and they managed to be out here for years, but eventually they got caught. So, unless you got somebody who gave you an instantaneous facelift and change and makeover, where you going? That's always my question. All righty. So you got this attack on a middle school child where he was gonna rat the teacher out. It's bottom line. He ratted the teacher out, and the teacher got mad and called in her 18-year-old brother to handle the middle school child. And now sent the child home. Again, that's like the other one. Well, here's your baby. I think, she's slobbing. I think she need to go to the emergency room. This is another child you handing over to the parent. Like the child wasn't going to have to tell what happened to him when he got home. And now they're looking for some investigation to find out some, other questions that have not been answered. But hey, they claim that this lady could still be working in the school. Tamika, what we talking about here?
She's been doing this, forever. Whenever she has a problem, back in the day, especially if you've got siblings, you automatically know, I'm going to get my brother. I'm going to get my sister to handle my stuff. And my thing is, you're dealing with a student. You can't handle that, and as opposed to being an adult and handling it, either you send you say something or you reprimand the child if there's an issue. The other thing, send the child to the principal's office. Those are things you decide to get your brother to come and solve your problem. This is something that's been happening all along, and unfortunately your workplace is no different. And, you should be sat down in the corner, yourself, whatever type of punishment that you would want to do to the child, and you should get it too. This child is brutalized, got bruises, all types of stuff. This is not how you handle things, Horrible.
Wow. Vivian.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that again, just silliness. I would have rather he tell on me then now either I'm gonna be behind bars or your brother gonna be behind bars.
Right.
So now you got
right.
a lose-lose situation. I would have just rather, whatever the situation was, I'd just rather he tell and I deal with that than now having to go to court and possibly be behind bars because I'm immature and want to send my brother on a 13-year-old boy to beat him up. What did you think was going to come of this? That they were just going to fight and it was going to be done with? Did you think this thing through? There was no possible outcome where you were going to wind up. Now the boy got beat up and everything is done. You gonna keep your job. He ain't gonna snitch and you gonna be good. There was no possible outcome where you were gonna end up on top. She just did not think that thing through. Like Lady Tamika says, she was just so used to anytime something happened, calling her brother to solve this problem with violence.
Wow. Shantice.
I want to know what he was going to say. Because as an adult, for me to want to go get my child, who
the brother,
sorry, for me to want to go get my brother, a child, dog, neighbor, you didn't even get his peer,
right?
Which makes it worse. You didn't say, I know another middle school student that all I got to do is say the word and they're gonna come at you. You went and got an adult, pretty much. Because he's going to be tried as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't got an adult to handle something. Whatever he was going to say, it was enough for her to either possibly lose her job or suspended or something. So now you went and did this. And what I agree. What did you think was going to happen? Because it's not like you told him to kill him. So you thought he was going to be that intimidating. The beatdown was going to be that bad that he was never going to say anything to anybody. If he was willing to snitch on you, the teacher, you don't think there was a chance he'd be willing to snitch on this 18-year-old? Because again, you don't know who he's connected to. So a lot of times these children don't speak up. I have to get on my knees all the time about speaking up. If I find out something happened to you and you ain't gonna tell the teacher, I'm gonna smack you. I don't care. They could have beat you up. You ain't gonna tell, I'm gonna beat you up next. You better go say something. So if he was bold enough to say something about you, you don't think there's a high chance he would have been willing to say something about anything else, anything additional? Now you've given him something additionally to say about you. She needs to, I don't understand how she's working there. Obviously, we know what side of the fence she's on because there's no way anyone on this side of the fence could have put a head out on any magnitude on a child, whether you send an adult or another child. And we'd still be clocking in, teaching ABCs 1, 2, 3. What? How does that work?
Absolutely. Yep.
The principal's
Absolutely.
in on it. The principal's in on it. The counselor's in on it. The dean is in on it because now everybody should be ratting you out. Was everybody good for this? And I walk past you in a hallway. Excuse, hold it. What you doing here? Nah. Because you creating hostile situations in these hallways. Because what did you do that this boy was about to snitch on you? Absolutely not. No.
Wow. Well, Vivian, we're about to lose you. What you got? What you got before you go?
I would just like to add so what Shanti said. He ain't have to snitch because she wasn't even smart enough to set it up like, oh, catch him on his block, catch him outside the school and beat him up. You had the boy in the school.
Right.
He didn't even have to snitch.
Right.
You let it happen on school grounds and your brother wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. Just silly. Make sure that y'all are planning things properly, because nobody in these situations, in these scenarios, had any decent plan. Not the farmer, not the maintenance man, not the teacher, not Biden. Nobody.
Right.
Nobody had a plan as to what was going to happen after they decided to do what they did.
Absolutely. A dumb criminal. Dumb criminals. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for your contribution today, Vivian. And we pray you have a blessed day.
Thank you. You as well. Have a good day, ladies.
Have a good day.
Have a good day.
All right. So Here's my take on it. It had to be something sexual, because that's my question. What is so great about him going to the principal and telling on you, whether it was a sexual advance toward him or a sexual advance towards somebody else? Because what else? There's no money in the school. There's no nothing. That you would take a chance to bring your brother on the premises to beat this kid up, and yet you don't feel that there's going to be some repercussion behind that? That would not be as bad as him telling on you in the first place. Again, this was her go-to. When she couldn't handle things, she would go get the brother, let the brother take care of her business for her, and that was it. Because my question was, how y'all send the kid home with all these bumps and bruises, like he wasn't supposed to say something? He walked through the door. If there's nobody home, there's somebody who's going to be eventually home. An 18-year-old that would issue out a beating enough to send a message to a 13-year-old child, he going home with some bumps and bruises. So again, there was no plan here. What did you think was supposed to happen here? What? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Oh my goodness.
Either something
gracious.
Sexual or some type of drug transaction or something. That's what it was something to where it would have really cost her job and reputation. We know that teachers don't have like a teacher's license, but again, just like prisoners know other prisoners in other facilities, and COs know the COs in other facilities, the education world is very small. So where do I think I'm going unless I find somebody who has a private school in their basement, where once this gets out, this is not going to follow me. So, and after you just reiterated that, I don't think she had much experience with this, because anyone who is used to getting somebody beat up, you may not do it right the first through fifth time, but once you hit that sixth time, you won't have some type of strategy, because you're going to now be put in a position to have to think about what happens afterwards. Do I beat somebody up in my hood and think I can go to the corner store in peace, or do I now take out the main person? Because if I take out the main person, that's going to have all the smaller people under him or her shut up, so I can walk to the store in peace. There was like no type of experience here, so I don't really know too much about this. This is what she's used to doing anymore, because after a while, there's at least a little bit of, especially like it was brought up, it was done on my place of work. And one thing about work, and this is how I know Pastor Steph is not on our side of the fence. You could come to my house, kick my garbage cans over, slap my mama, but you better not show up at my job. You showing up at my job says something completely different than you even knocking on my door. You showing up at my place of work says you ready to die, literally. Like, you don't care about how this go down. That's it. All bets off the table. That's it. It says something so much different. You can even pop up at my kid's school. You show up on my job, and I've worked with people who look like they just came out of the work release program. You don't want to get to no fight with nobody at work. That just says something completely different. So now I done called you to come up to my place of work for you not, and thank God it wasn't, but for you to not have a plan to literally take this kid out was stupid, because it's going to come back on you. You're at work. There are so many more eyes on you at work than it is at your house, at your place of residence, at your kid's school, at yoga, at whatever you do, at the pool hall, whatever you do, wherever you go. That just did not read. I have much experience in this. And I agree, Pastor Steph. It was either she molested some kid or was sleeping with them, or there was some type of drug transaction going on where
it was something serious.
Yeah,
it was definitely something serious.
Like little Bobby done saw or heard or found out, and he said, "I'm gonna tell. I got you. I'm gonna tell." You know, so or
Mhm.
you try to initiate something with him, and he
Right,
said no,
right,
and now he, you know what I'm saying? That's like, nah.
right. And when I say she's used to this, meaning just getting her brother involved,
Right,
whether
right,
whether he was beating people up or whatever, I'm not saying what, but you could tell that
right.
you weren't accustomed to handling your own business because, again, God will tell, you know what, I just got to eat this because I need my job. Like you said, I'm a teacher. This stuff could possibly follow me around. And, I'm not going to risk my teaching career over something because you telling, you know what I'm saying? So it had to be something serious. Now it's funny because I had two stories and I couldn't really figure out which one I wanted to address, but I'm gonna present this one because this one kind of walks right into this. So there's a lady in Australia who they say really responded responded to something that she did not like. So she and some friends were drinking. So this Corby, 24 years old, was out drinking with some friends. One of the friends was Jake. So Corby is 24 and Jake is 23. And as they were drinking, he said something she didn't like, and she responded. And he knew she meant business after he responded. So they say that he made a comment during the time that, I want to make sure I get this right. While they were drinking, he said that she should stay in the kitchen making scones. Now they're Australian. So this is something that, they say is misogynistic, chauvinistic. And she didn't like it. And that she could not handle drinking with the boys. So it was not a whole lot of females involved, if any other females involved. And she went into a rage. She took a gallon of gasoline and poured it on him. Yes. And when she poured the gasoline on him, he said to her, now I want to make sure I get his quote properly. He said something to her to the effect of, well, go ahead. Like he challenged her. So she waved the lighter and she was threatening. He said, go on, do it. And she took the lighter and she burned him. She set him on fire. He received burns over 55% of his body. He had some sweat glands burned off. He was put into a medically induced coma for 8 days. And he required 10 operations and spent 74 days in a burn unit. And he can't step outside into the sun because of the extensive epidermal damage that was done to his body. She told the courts that she was abusing drugs and alcohol since a breakup in 2022. She regrets doing this to him, that this was a friend. She was out drinking with friends. And she was just pushed to the edge. Now, I thought this was interesting based on the conversation we were having a second ago. And also because you're one who always says that there's a very thin line between us and them. The only thing that keeps us from doing these things is the Spirit of the Lord. Because we sure think about doing these things.
Yeah, Pastor Steph.
But the fact that we don't actually step out and throw that lighter on to somebody we just got finished pouring a gallon of gasoline, but he thought she was just waving the lighter. He said, go on, do it. What you got for us, Shantice?
Pastor Steph, if I could tell you how many people that's coming to mind alone, that had I had a gasoline tank and a lighter, they would have a number on the other side of that dash. You know how like when you go see the funerals, like born, and then it would already be there. And as you were talking, again, it's always been like this, but God is allowing us now more than before to really see how serious this stuff is, and people keep underestimating this alcohol. We have to understand, even those of us who have never drunk, or if you're like me who used to drink excessively, and people who are still drinking, when we ingest alcohol, we are literally ingesting dark spirits. Again, I do not remember seeing, there's always been liquor stores everywhere. Now, if you pass like 10 liquor stores, at least 8 or 9 of them have spirits in the name. Whether it's wine and spirits and this, that's not just the name. Like, this stuff is real. So already, obviously, you have an issue with this misogynistic approach and attitude. This is part of your culture. So there's some women who conform to the culture. There's some women who resent and despise the culture. So whether you're sober or drunk or tipsy, whatever, you already have your own feelings about not liking it. Now you go and you ingest demons, dark spirits that are playing on the fact that you are ready to have a hostile conversation when it comes to this already. And you just open the door for them to influence you to do what you already wanted to do. Because no one who doesn't already have that in their mind, and it's said all the time, the devil can only do what he can only play on what he sees you already entertain. So even if you only entertain it mentally, if he, while studying you, understands that you have the ability and the desire on any level to do something like that, his job is to now influence you to do that. Whether it means helping to introduce this idea to you, and someone keeps saying it to you, you keep reading stuff and it keeps coming across, well, women should do this and men should do that. However, he keeps reintroducing it to you. So now that's how it goes to, well, what did I just do? This was my friend. Because it had nothing to do with your friend. It had everything to do with what you opened the door. Friends say stuff, and we're talking about real friends. We ain't talking about this stupid worldly definition of a friend that we all made up. Real friends that Jesus gives you. Yes, they gonna get on your nerves. When you gonna go back to Jesus and say, I think you keep making mistakes. Stop sending me these slow bots, please. Because you see, I'm already slow. It's supposed to be the blind can't lead the blind. What's happening here? But now you go and of course you most likely talking about 2 unsaved people. And now you done set your friend on fire because your friend said something that you already had a problem with. It could have been anybody. It could have been a stranger. But because you opened the door to this and people keep thinking it's a game, now you done traumatized your friend and yourself. Now he has to live with this. You have to live with it in another way. All because you either, I can't say you were never introduced to the concept, but you underestimated how you felt and what alcohol does, the influence alcohol has on us. That's sad. But yeah, as far as you thinking about it, and you know what's crazy, Pastor Steph, you said the Holy Spirit. This another way God proves the Holy Spirit work. If you read the Bible, if you go to Spirit work, you know how many times, Pastor Steph, I've been in mid-argument, or it can even be a calm conversation, someone saying something to me, and as they're talking to me, my eyes has looked to the left and saw something that I could knock them out with. Literally, I could take that pot and smack the cuss word out of them. And real quick, the Holy Spirit will be like, like help you snap out of it. So this stuff is real. People keep underestimating these alcohol and weed and all that. Keep it up. There's gonna be a whole lot of people sitting there looking over their kid's body, their parents' body, their friend's bodies. I'm like, what did I do?
Yeah, this here, you know, when the caption read something about let me see, it says she set a friend on fire, you know, because of some misogynistic issue. You know, I couldn't wait to dive into this article to see the connection between what did he or she do, because it didn't say a male or a female, it just said set a friend on fire. So I'm like, well, what in the world could this friend have said that, you know, misogynistic? Pretty much I figured it was a male, you know, but knowing women these days and people, I couldn't put my finger on it. So I was diving into this article to see what exactly did this person say. And when I read that he said that she should stay in the kitchen making scones, I was like, now I know we're American and they Australian, and I know we can say some things,
Man.
but that's it. Ain't no cuss words, ain't no your mama, ain't no on your child's life, ain't no nothing other than you should stay in the kitchen making scones. So in other words, it's like you need to stay barefoot and pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. I keep reading the article. I'm like, well, maybe I missed something. You know, I can't really see. I'm like, well, maybe I missed something here. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, again, you know, I always talk about this thing, you know, and I'm going to throw this up in here. I have a family member that really does not like me talking about family stuff. Probably listening right now. You know, do you really have to say these things? Listen, there's a reason why God allows us to go through certain things in our life, and what we would love to keep to ourselves. You know, because I've always been very private.
Right.
I have been pushed literally to say these things. And
Mhm.
while we're worrying about covering up other people's lives,
Mhm.
God is using us to save lives.
Mhm.
And there's nowhere in the world that I ever would have thought I would have been on some talk show. There's nowhere in the world I thought I would have ever been spearheading or hosting a talk show. And I surely did you faint?
I wonder if you about to talk about me, Pastor Mommy. I don't know, Lord. Grab the. No, I'm sorry. I was trying to put my
pass out
I was trying
because
to put
I'm
my
about to
charger.
say something.
I was on my charger on the phone and just knocked the whole thing off.
But I look at stories like this, and like you said, you can speak about it from one direction because you've been a drinker. I cannot speak about certain things as a drinker, but I can surely speak about certain things as an onlooker.
Yes.
And when I read this article, like I said, I kept saying, well, where's the catchphrase here? What's going to make us so mad that we're going to set somebody on fire? And you should stay in the kitchen making scones, in my personal opinion. It's just not enough for Stephanie to set you on fire, despite the fact that, like you, there's been a couple times in my life, if I had a gallon of gasoline, I'd have been sitting behind bars trying to figure out how I was going to escape. But what God has allowed was for me to host this show or be a part of a show, speak on this thing here, and be able to tell you the transformation that takes place under some alcohol. I ain't even talk about no drugs. I'm talking about straight alcohol. I have sat from a child and watched through an adult to this day. You at 8 o'clock before the alcohol, and you at 8:30 after the alcohol. And this here is believable because if you're carrying around all of this stuff, just like you said, this ain't got nothing to do with a friend.
Right.
This is why now she's standing in front of the judge saying, I can't believe I did this to my friend. And she says here, you know, they have a quote, and if I could take this back, absolutely. If you could take this back, you would. But under the influence of alcohol, let me tell you something, baby. You would think you were dealing with two different people.
Man.
I have lived from a child, I've watched. And this is fun. I'm still trying to figure out. Shantice always laughs because that's what I would always say. This is fun. When you are able, when people are able to call back what you did, but you can't remember what you did. When people are able to call back stuff, or when you think about what you've done and you like, I can't believe I did that. This is fun. You would want to go pick up more alcohol again? This makes no sense to me. And this here is real. When Shantice talks about this spirit thing, it is real. You do not control what you put in your body. You think you've got control over this thing. You think a couple of sips or a couple of drinks gonna be, oh, it ain't gonna do much. This here indicates how nasty this gets.
Yep.
That you would literally set someone who you called a friend. We ain't talk about you ran up on your enemy and you said on sight, I'm gonna set you on fire. On sight, if I see a bottle, it's me and you. On sight, I thought about how you with my mama, and it's, oh no, we talking about somebody you called a friend. This stuff is real.
Yep.
And if you don't think this stuff is real, now you're talking about someone who drank, and I can't attest to that. I can't, because here's my thing. From a child, God allowed me to watch this. So I already knew I don't need nothing altered in my life. See, if you can have your life altered where you like this, and you ain't got no control over that thing, that's not for Stephanie. That's not for me. Because how could this be fun? How could this be? This is fun. I see Shantice when this is fun. You don't remember what you used to watch? This was this what you want? No, you have lost your mind, girl.
Because
I worked too hard.
Again, Pastor Steph, it goes back to what you said too when you think it could never be you. You know, because even when you've watched, because I can remember watching adults as a kid get drunk, and you don't necessarily really understand. You just know 1 second it was like this, another second it's like that. And then as you're getting older, then you start to make the connection like, okay, the alcohol now takes you from being like this to being like that. Even if you're a fun drunk, you know, or the fun drunks,
right?
You know, they now hyping up the party and the atmosphere, cracking jokes, laughing, whatever. But there's still a heavy transition, and you never believe you're gonna be out of control. You know, when I first started, I always felt like I had control. And then out of nowhere, it was just and then it's like, now, then you get to the point where people ask you, like you said, Pastor Steph, oh yeah, because we did this last night. And you like, we did what? And it's like, you don't remember, but yet you go back because you got to top the next time you don't remember something, because now I want to hear more about what I don't remember, but I did. That was enough to talk to me about because it was funny, or it's just like this. But again, there's the illusion. There's the illusion. And then it gets to the point where now you end up like this. So where now what you did wasn't so fun. And now Now, the spirits that helped you do that, they ain't there with you. It's just like what we watch here in the flesh. The people that hype you up to do all these things, let you be the one to get caught. Right. Let you be the one to get caught. You doing that bid by yourself. You serving that detention by yourself. You handling those consequences by yourself. Them people ain't there rocking with you now. Where's that energy? It's the same thing with the demons. They there with you to help get you in the mess, to back you up, to let you think you're the one spearheading this. And when now you in a sober mind, they ain't there to back you up. They ain't there to help you. You now have to face the consequences on your own. And unfortunately, now she's there to face the consequences on her own. And it's sad because now you really don't have any, especially if you have no real concept of how God works and how the devil works. You really sitting there really lost, like what happened?
Perplexed.
Right. Like what?
Yep.
How you go from this to that? It's scary.
Yep.
It's scary.
It is. Wow. Thank you so much, Shanti. We can rock out all day.
Yeah.
Enjoy your day. Thank you so much for your contribution.
Everyone.
Have a blessed day. Thank you. Woo-wee. Man, oh man, oh man. You know, she said some profound things. You know, this whole, you left the rock out by yourself. She's now, remember now when she's drinking with the boys. She's drinking with the boys. She's drinking with other people. And now, ain't nobody standing there. When she dumped the gasoline. See, oh, here we go. There is no temptation to man. There is no temptation that is uncommon to man that God would not give you a way out. Stages, watch it. We're drinking, stage. We laughing, stage. We done got to some uncomfortable conversation, stage. You just said something that made me mad, stage. I done went and got the gasoline because you ain't standing up in the bar or the lounge with the gasoline, stage. I done warned you, stage. I done poured it, stage. I done actually pulled out the lighter, stage. I'm waving the lighter, stage. I'm challenged. Go, do it. Go on, do it. Stage. I tossed the lighter. Stage. How many stages did I just count? But that God gave you a way out. Pay attention. Oh, what a God we serve. What a God we serve that would give you all of those opportunities to think about this thing. Because see, you don't have to have the Spirit of the Lord in you for God to bless you like that. Because the rain falls on the just as well as the unjust. Stage after stage, time after time. Look at all those stages that I just went through. And just like Shanti said, but because you've invited these spirits, that's what's leading the show. Because see, now she claims, well, listen, back in 2022, back in 2022, something that happened and I've been messed up ever since then, Your Honor. And, no, because maybe something misogynistic went on back then. And that's all still residing because see, we have not thought that we needed God to help us overcome what happened back in 2022. So we're going to keep on, we joking, we drinking, we playing around, we having a good time. We living life because I didn't got over that thing. But in actuality, you really haven't gotten over this thing. So now when all of this comes up, this is pulling up all of those nasty feelings and thoughts that you had from back then and possibly before that. But that nothing you go through in life, and I'm paying attention today, nothing you go through in life, you will never go through. That's something that somebody else did not go through. It says that it's uncommon to man because everything has happened before you and will happen after you. You ain't alone. We just got finished talking about this the other day. You ain't never alone. You're not the only person. You are always in the middle of life. There will always be someone worse, and there will always be someone better off. But no matter where you are, God will always give you a way out. Because if he doesn't, how could he ever have you? If he lets you fall into every pit, how does he ever get you? Because you'll stay down all the time. He's got to give you an opportunity to recover. He's got to give you an opportunity to think through this thing so that you can come to me. Because even if you come to him on your hands and knees, you still got some energy. You still got something to bring to him. So therefore, he's got to give you a way out. Before, during, or after, it's got to be a way out. He promises you that. Promises. It's not just to those of us who believe. It's to all mankind. But are we taking that way out, or are we going to be left standing before the judge? Talking about, I don't know how I got here. Pay attention. Is that going to be you? Well, he's giving you a way out right now. If you have never had this petition before, the petition is before you. Get out. Come on in the room and let God take control, because we don't have control until we surrender. Trust me when I tell you, we have no control until we surrender and we submit to the Spirit of the Lord, and we give up that control and allow God to be the pilot. Don't miss that opportunity. You've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit. As you go through your day, be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on the earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off, and I want to thank my Due Time crew, the ladies, for always coming through big time. Thank you for hanging out with us and keeping that chat room alive. Please do not miss this opportunity to give Christ your life right now. Please do not miss the opportunity to strengthen that relationship with the Lord right now, because later is not promised to any of us. Until tomorrow, God spares, where it's Therapeutic Thursday. Until then, I love you.